everyone. I hope I'm audible. Great, fantastic. Thanks, Aditi, and good evening, Himanshu, and everyone. All right, so this is first class in which we are going to talk about world history, right? If I talk about UPSC exam and while we are talking about world history as a component, so what happens in UPSC? It is part of only mains GS paper 1, right? For UPSC, world history is meant only and only for mains. While in some of the state service exams, particularly Punjab PCS, this world history is there in pre as well as in mains, right? So world history for states like Punjab is a little more important a component as compared to many other states where they don't deal with world history in the prelim exam. So this is our NCRT batch in which we basically help students lay proper foundation so that they start understanding the concepts in a more you know in a more comfortable manner, so that their understanding of the topics which they have not touched after their 10th class, and up to 10th class we all know, while we were in our schools, history or such like subjects like civics, geography, economics, they were never taught with one such way, in one such way, or with such a zeal that students can develop some kind of interest in these subjects, right? So while I will be teaching world history to you guys in next 5 lectures or 6 lectures as it may unfold, because it will also depend on the pace that the class will allow me to teach. Usually I complete world history in 5 lectures, but if need be we can keep a 6th lecture, or if need be we can even keep a 7th lecture. And there had been many a time a chance where I could complete world history in only 4 lectures. Now that all depends on the pace at which the class feels comfortable, right? So what I will do today is I will give you a very broad understanding of the entire syllabus of world history for UPSC as well as for state service exam, more particularly Punjab PCS. Fine, I will be giving you a proper timeline, a very detailed plan, and that how the topics are to be unfold, right? Like what happens when, how, and how the topics are interlinked with each other. Fine, this will be a very broad understanding. Now to explain these entire events of world history from the starting of the syllabus to the end of the syllabus, it may take me, if uninterrupted, it will take me about 1.5 to 2 hours, maximum 2 hours, minimum 1.5 hour, right? But if in between students ask me by raising their hands or this way or that way, so it may take 2.5 hours maximum. So today's class will be perhaps from 1 hour 30 minutes to 2 hour 30 minutes, depending on the comfort of the students. Now some of the students are today sitting in this class with an aim to prepare for Punjab PCS, right? But in this class I will not be speaking in Hindi or Punjabi, I will be speaking only and only in English, because this is our NCRT batch. So in case some of the students who are aiming only for Punjab PCS, they find it little bothering that why sir is not speaking any word in Hindi or Punjabi, you need to understand that this is just a demo lecture. If even if I speak all English through and through in the lecture and still you enjoy the lecture, then imagine that how I can teach you better while I speak Punjabi as well. But when most of you guys who are preparing for Punjab PCS are to appear in English medium, then I will highly recommend and motivate you guys to take English medium classes only, not to depend on Hindi and Punjabi, because that is where we start lagging behind our competitors. Fine. All right, now the modus operandi of this class is going to be one such: I am going to disable the chat so that students unnecessarily do not keep writing unnecessary things in the chat box. But I do understand that when I will be explaining things, there may be and there must be many doubts in your mind. So whenever you have a doubt, you have to just put a little bit of a, you have to scribble it on the side of your page, right, on the notebook on which you are making your notes of these lectures. After every about 20-25 minutes, I will give a window where I will open the chat box, and I will give mics to the students as well in case they want to ask a question by speaking, by asking, like they can ask by speaking, and then I will answer them back. So every 20-25 minutes I will give a window where I will take up your doubts. Now this is very important for two things. One, for the continuity of a topic, so that every 2 minutes, every 3 minutes, if somebody start typing something, everybody's attention is diverted. If everybody start raising their hand every now and then, and I start talking to them, then there is no continuity. And the sincere students, the genuine students, they genuinely feel very disturbed with this. And even I understand, being a student and a teacher, that there has to be a continuity of a topic. Fine. So now the chat box is going to be disabled. Nobody will raise hands unnecessarily till the time I ask you guys that this is the window where you can either type or you can raise your hand to get the mic to talk and ask by speaking. Is it okay, everybody? Just let me know by typing in the chat box. Is it okay with everyone? A class should be a disciplined way of a teaching, and it should not be like that anytime anyone doing anything, right? Fantastic. Thanks for this broad democratic consensus for this idea of a disciplined class. So nobody is going to raise hands now. That's a very humble submission. We are going to start the topic, and the topic of world history. See, when I talk about the syllabus of world history, the syllabus starts from the Enlightenment, which is also called Age of Reason. Age of Reason, right? This is the starting point of world history from the perspective of either UPSC civil services exam, or from the perspective of any of the state service where the world history is part. And when I again emphasize on the fact that if it is Punjab PCS, world history is not just part of your mains, it is also part of your pre. Today is the first class. I will not be talking much about answer writing, because today is an introduction. But from tomorrow onward, definitely we will be talking about answer writing skills as well, that how you have to write an effective answer, an impressive answer, that you should get better marks than the others who are writing the answers. See, what you have to understand, the facts more or less remains the same. If somebody asks you what were the causes of World War I, so most of the students will write the same things. Now, it is not possible that somebody says that it is because of Hitler that World War I happened, when we know that Hitler was nowhere as a cause for World War I, though yes, his policies are a cause for World War II, right? So nobody can go beyond the facts. But then when everyone writes the same facts, then how you present your facts, how you integrate them into an answer, right, that makes all the difference, and that gets you better marks. From tomorrow onward, I will be emphasizing a lot on your answer writing as well. Fine. So when we talk about the syllabus, it starts from the Enlightenment or the Age of Reason, which is somewhere around from 1650s onwards time in the Western European history, from 1650s onward time. And the syllabus comes to an end with disintegration of USSR that happened in 1990-91. Two events happened simultaneously in world history. One was disintegration of USSR, and then the end of the process of decolonization when South Africa became independent, right? Decolonization of South Africa, right? This is the broad syllabus. That means we have to start from 1650s and we have to end at 1990s, which roughly makes it a history of 350 years that we have to cover in our world history for civil services, be it union civil services, the civil services of the Union Public Service Commission or the state service commissions. Now, having explained this thing, that this is the broad syllabus, now I am going to narrate a story of the events, that how the events unfolded, how they integrated, how they made a story that you will never forget if you today try to grab it. Like, this is how the events were unfolding. Now I give you a very easy mantra to remember the storyline, right? The mantra is the idea of root and fruit. Now, what is this idea of root and fruit? See friends, in history, no event will ever happen in a vacuum. It cannot happen in a vacuum. There has to be a reason behind that event to happen. Let's take a very basic of the examples. Why the hell the British had to come to India? Like, they did not come without any reason. Na? The reason was trade. So I can say that the root for the British coming to India was trade, right? Now that the British came, this root has been planted in India na, so this root will have some fruit. So they came, trade was the root, and British came. When they came, they realized that unless they conquer India, unless they win India politically, they cannot manage trade properly. So trade was the root and conquest was its fruit. Now that we have a fruit, right? I planted something, I planted a sapling, there was a tree, let's say it was a tree of apple. Now I got the fruit apple. Now within that apple there are again some new seeds now from which I can get a new plant. So every fruit has an inbuilt kind of seeds in itself, right? So when the conquest happened, now conquest became a new seed. So what will be the fruit of this conquest? The fruit will be British will introduce English way of life in India. English way of life. Now when I say English way of life, what I mean by it? English education, right? Social reforms, new economic policies and everything. So these became the new fruits of the root of British conquest. Now that they introduced British or English way of life, it became a new root. So what will be the fruit of this root? Now the fruit will be India's reaction. India's reaction. Indian people were not very happy with everything that the British were doing. For example, socially, they banned sati, they legalized widow remarriage, right? So Indians were not very happy. Now that the India's reaction came, what was India's reaction? It was either social reform movements like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Dayanand Saraswati, Vivekananda, right? Or tribal and peasant uprisings, the revolts of the tribals and the peasants against the British wrong policies. When I talk about the economic policies, they were like the new land revenue policies, for example, that permanent settlement, Roytwadi, Mahalwadi, which were very, very exploitative. So the peasants revolted, right? Now that there were tribal and peasant uprisings and there were social reforms, they became a new root. Now this root will again bear a fruit, and the fruit will be a big revolt, revolt of 1857. But somehow British survived this revolt. Now this revolt became a new root, and the fruit of this was birth of Congress. And the birth of Congress and the making of Congress became a new root, and the fruit was national struggle for independence, and the fruit was freedom of India. Now if I start interlinking the things like this, then I hope we all agree that we will never forget that why these events were happening, what were the causes or what were the consequences. I just open the chat box for a second to understand that. Did you understand like what I tried to explain, the root and fruit kind of an idea here? Was it clear to everyone? And did you like the idea to understand and remember the facts? Ankita Mishra ji, we decided at the very start of the class, I suppose you joined late, that nobody will raise the hand unless a teacher asks. Naveen, it is not me being fast, it was just an introduction of root and fruit. It was nothing to be written, right? I hope you agree. M. Naveen Chaudhary. It was nothing to be written, so that's why I was fast. All right. So now I am going to start with world history. Here you have to make the flow chart with me. So I will be slow. I will be waiting for you to write the things. And as we decided, every 20-25 minutes, I will give you a window where you will ask your doubts either by writing in the chat box or if need be by raising your hand, and I will be giving you mic to ask your questions. So depending on this, now as I told you, the syllabus starts with the Enlightenment or Age of Reason. Age of Reason, right? Now when we talk about this idea, Age of Reason or Enlightenment, which I told it is from 1650s onwards. Now the problem is they may ask a question that what were the reasons for the coming of this enlightenment? What were the circumstances that brought this age of reason? That means its causes. But the causes are like what? They are the roots. So we are to go into the past. Even if the syllabus does not refer to the past of enlightenment, but indirectly it is part of the syllabus. We need to know things about that. Ashwini ji, if people start joining the class late, they have to understand that there are some rules. Nobody will raise hands. That is the rule. There will be a proper window where you ask. Sudeep BS, Even you have to put the hand down. Thank you. So we are going to understand the past of this. When we try to understand the past of this, we have to go deep in the past, very deep in the past, so that we can better understand. So the first term that I would like to like explain, discuss with you students, is the term called feudalism. Feudalism, right? This is the first term with which we will start our lecture today. When we talk about this idea of feudalism, I am talking about 5th to 12th century Europe. 5th to 12th century Europe, right? Which means from 401 to 1199 century AD, right? 401 to 1199 AD is the time, basically 400 onwards. This is the time when I am going to explain the term called feudalism. So first topic that we are going to discuss in the class today is feudalism. You will make a brief note of it with me. I will explain. After explaining feudalism, originally I said every 20-25 minutes I will give you a window to ask your doubts. But because this is going to be the first topic of the day, after explaining feudalism in 5 to 7 minutes, I will give you first window to ask your doubts, if there are. And if there are no doubts and you are comfortable with the pace, then I will stick to the original plan of not opening the chat box or giving you the mic for 20-25 minutes. So first topic will be feudalism. Let's start understanding what is feudalism. First I will explain, you will not write. Then I will dictate and then you will write. This way you will understand and make notes. Otherwise, if I start explaining and you start writing, your entire focus will be on writing and you may end up not understanding the concept properly. So first I will explain, listen to it. Just keep watching me and listening to me. And then when I say now write, I am going to dictate, then write. So when I talk about feudalism as a topic, right? So what is this feudalism? The term is a Western concept, right? Western European concept. What happened in Western Europe is the fact that after the fall of Roman Empire. Now this is before 5th century. So this is not part of the syllabus, that how the Roman Empire came into being, what was Roman Empire, how it functioned. It is not part of the syllabus. So the most important thing about these competitive exams is not to have those butterflies that I should know about everything. If it is not part of the syllabus, why should I bother myself? If it is nowhere near to the syllabus that I am expected to cover, then why should I waste my time and energy? You know one thing, when I prepare for, I mean any one of us, when I prepare for such a competitive exam, the most important thing is not to know the do's. It is more important to know the don'ts. Don't do this. This is more important to know, because when you know that I am not to do this, you end up doing what is to be done, and then the success happens naturally. Otherwise, if you have no one to tell you and you just get carried away, you are searching on Google, and Google is like, there is hell lot of information and they give you interlinks, right? Hyperlinks, and then you keep on surfing and surfing and there is no end to knowledge. Then so you will never be able to finish your syllabus. So a coaching or a teacher is required to make you understand the don'ts, then the do's you do yourself, and then when you get selected, yes, you can say I got selected through self-study, because exactly, yes, every do you are doing. We are here only to tell you don't do this. Fine. This is very important explanation of this. So Roman Empire is no part of this, right? So when there was Roman Empire, let's take an example. In India we had Mughal Empire, right? We all know that there was Mughal Empire, started by Babur, followed by Humayun, then there was Akbar, then there was Jahangir, then there was Shah Jahan, and then there was Aurangzeb. When Babur came, 1526, first battle of Panipat. When Aurangzeb died, 1707. So this is almost like quarter of 2 centuries, right? It is like 175 odd years, right, when the Mughals ruled. But the Mughal rule continued up to 1857. Fine. We all know it was Bahadur Shah Zafar who was the Mughal emperor when that revolt of 1857 happened. For another 150 years, the Mughal rule continued, but it was very weak because there were weak rulers. Fine. So when it was Roman Empire, it was like these great Mughal rulers. right? One great country, long, big territory, strong king controlling all the territory and having control over all the officers. When the death of Aurangzeb happened in 1707, many of the officers of the Mughal Empire, they started claiming themselves independent rulers. We all read in modern Indian history na, that Nizam of Hyderabad declared himself independent. Rajanji, not right now. I will give you mic after some time. Please put the hand down. Right? So Nizam of Hyderabad declared himself independent. In Mysore there were independent state, and in Punjab the Sikh Empire arose, right? And in Bengal there was Murshid Quli Khans and Ali Wardi Khans. In Awadh it was Safdar Jung. So all the people started becoming independent. So what happened in Europe? In Europe, when the fall of Roman Empire happened, now the strong kings are gone and there are weak kings. Now these weak kings, they were not able to control the empire themselves. So what they started doing, this, if let's say this is one country in Europe, and think of any European country in Western Europe, it can be Germany, it can be France, it can be Britain, it can be Spain, it can be any country, right? So if this is one country, it should have one king, and there was one king. He was theoretically at least, he was considered to be the owner of all the land in this country, right? In theory, it is the king who is the owner of the land, but the king has now a problem. He is weak, and when the king is weak, he is not just militarily weak, and he is economically weak, he is politically weak, he is administratively weak. Weakness always happens together, it doesn't happen in a single way. I explain you that idea as well, and I hope you are not writing, you are trying to understand the concept. Then I will dictate it as well. So when I say na, a king happens to be weak in all the ways. Let's take one example. A king is militarily weak. Why he is militarily weak? Because he is economically weak. Let's understand this now. If a king has lot of money, he can have lot of army. He can bring lot of new weapons. He can invest money and get more weapons for his army, and his army will be strong. If the army is strong, if the army remains strong, he can collect as much of the taxes as he wants. He can win more and more territory and get more and more money. So if you are economically strong, you remain militarily strong. If you are militarily strong, you remain economically strong. But if either of the two happens, any of these two happen, you become militarily and economically weak. When you become weak, then people take advantage and try to make you politically weak, unstable, and then try to take away your territory, right? You become politically weak, and when you are so weak, neither you have money, nor you have army, nor you can protect people, then you become administratively weak. So when weakness comes, it comes in every possible manner. So now that the kings have become weak in Europe, right? So kings decided that I will keep some part of territory directly under my control, and then there are some strong army commanders. Let us do a thing, divide the territory and appoint these military commanders as feudal lords, in these territories, right? I will demarcate the territory, that this territory belongs to this feudal lord. And you know, these strong military commanders, they are people who are the natives of these areas. Let's take an example. If somebody is to give some power to someone in Punjab, so they will try to give it to some of the leaders of Punjab, and similarly about South India or Eastern India, right? So instead of sending people from one area to other area, we can find the strong people in that area, and then we can give some power to them. Now what the king is trying to do in this system of feudalism, king is dividing the territory, keeping some territory directly in his hands, and then dividing the rest of the territory among the other people, the feudal lords. The term feudalism is basically, feudal means land, right? Feud means land, so it is related to land. Now what the king did, king is sitting at the top, and king appointed some feudal lords under him. These feudal lords are very powerful militarily. They are very powerful militarily. And you know what king is expecting? These feudal lords will maintain the law and order in these areas where they have been appointed. So the feudal lords will be responsible to maintain law and order. Now king is free to sit here and he is not required to travel in the distant places, and we are talking about 5th to 12th century AD time. There were no modern means of transportation, no communication means like modern age. So it was genuinely very difficult for king to travel to distant places and get news every day. So that is why there were so many problems. Now the king thought, okay, I confine myself to this area and leave the feudal lords in other areas to manage the day-to-day law and order. That means the feudal lords are like junior kings in their own areas. They are like junior kings. They have all the powers. They live in big castles. They make, big castles for them. They dispense justice. They run the administration, and they also manage the military for the maintenance of law and order. So every feudal lord maintains his own army. So he is like a junior king. He has his own army. He collects the taxes. He makes the rules. He manages everything, right? So he is like a junior king. So whenever this king has to fight a war against a neighboring king, so why the feudal lords will help this king? Because if this neighboring king wins the territory, he will appoint somebody else a feudal lord. So all the feudal lords will always support the king. There is a mutual give and take benefit. The feudal lords have been given land by the king and have been given a guarantee that as long as I am the king, you remain the feudal lords. But tomorrow if a new king comes and wins this territory, he will remove not just the king, he will also remove the feudal lords, because of which then the new feudal lords will be appointed and they will lose their position. So all the feudal lords with their military will always support the king in the war. So king is politically dependent on feudal lords. King is militarily dependent on feudal lords. King is economically dependent on feudal lords because they collect the taxes and give some share to the king. So the position of king during the time of feudalism was very weak, but the position of feudal lords was very strong, and it will keep on becoming stronger and stronger day by day. The more the king becomes dependent on the feudal lords, the more the power of the feudal lords will increase. And when their power will increase, now what will happen next? What will happen next is these feudal lords will also try to live life of ease and comfort. They will keep some territory with them by dividing other territory to their junior feudal lords. So there is a king. Under a king there are many feudal lords. There are many feudal lords. I am just making 3, but there were many. Now these feudal lords appointed somebody under them. They became the knights, right? Knights. So the king, the lords, the knights. Now these knights, what are they doing? They are doing exactly the same thing for feudal lord what the feudal lord was doing for the king. That means in these smaller territories, now the knights will maintain the law and order. They will maintain the army. They will collect the taxes and give share to feudal lord. Feudal lord will give it to the king, right? So king is sitting at the top. Under king there are feudal lords. Under feudal lords there are knights, and at the bottom there are serfs. Now what are serfs? Serfs are like slaves, or they are the peasants, the people who will do cultivation on the land, the tillers of the land, the people who do agriculture, right? Rajan, is it something that important that you constantly keep raising your hand? If it is seriously that important, please raise and let me give you the mic now. Hurry up. Or I give you the mic even if you don't raise your hand, because it's been 10 times that you have raised your hand. Yes, Rajan, please tell me what is so urgent. Bolo, Rajan.
Hi, sir.
Hi. Yeah, please tell me what is so urgent that you constantly keep raising your hand. Yeah, please tell.
Sir, I'm asking the price of NCRTs.
Yeah, seriously, yaar, won't you, like, can't you wait that the teacher is teaching something and you can wait for some time to know the price? Or is it important to know the price and not to understand what teacher is explaining in the class? What is more important? All right. So there are serfs. So the society looks like, make this pyramid on your notebook, make it. There is a king. Under the king there are feudal lords. Under feudal lords there are knights, and under knights there are serfs, and serfs are like slaves, right? Now another thing, church as an institution is very, very important. church as an institution is very, very important. Now, how church is important? So the king can also give land to church, or feudal lords can also give land to the church. Now there are officers of the church, they can also be appointed either as feudal lords or as knights, right? But church has one other authority. There is one king, there is one pope. Pope is head of all the Christian church. So if church gets the land, it also becomes a feudal lord or knight, but then the church as an institution become subordinate to two offices, the pope as well as the king. So church is very crucial because the king and the feudal lords, they keep on giving land to church as well, so that they either get the blessings of the god or they get support of the religion for their rule. And during those days people were more religious, and we can better use the word superstitious, and they believed in the ideas of pope and church very strongly. So if the church says that no one can revolt against the king, if the church says that feudal lords are like the privileged people, they are the blessed people, and these serfs, if they won't serve the knights, feudal lords, king and church, then they will go to hell. So people will believe this, right? Because people were intentionally denied knowledge and they were fed on superstitions. That is why historians say that this was dark age. People had no knowledge, they were living in darkness. So the feudal age is also called the age of darkness or the dark age, and because it is a long period, so they call it dark ages. Feudalism is called dark ages as well. So thing is, there is king who is theoretically very powerful, but practically he is not. He is dependent on feudal lords. Feudal lords are strong, but they are also dependent on their knights. And then there are serfs, the peasants, the slaves who serve them all. And there can be one king, there can be 10 lords, there can be 100 knights, but there are millions of serfs, right? Millions of serfs. So the millions of the people are controlled by them. Is it clear to everyone? Now you open the chat box, let me know, do you understand the concept? And with this pace and this explanation, will you be able to understand the things? Fantastic. Now in case anyone is here to ask anything that he or she is not able to understand, Pope is head, Khushi Batra, Pope is head of the church. We still have a Pope now sitting in Vatican. Of the entire church, there is one big power, that is Pope. If anyone is having any doubt, you can raise your hand now and ask by getting a mic from me. If there is anybody who is having any doubt. Ravi, yes, Ravi Oran, please tell me, what is your doubt? रवि भाई थोड़ा जल्दी बोलना पड़ेगा यार, इतना टाइम नहीं है. स्विच ऑन करो माइक को जल्दी से, रेड आइकन के ऊपर प्रेस करो, जो माइक बना हुआ है नीचे की साइड पे उस पे प्रेस करो.
ओके.
हाँ जी बोलो.
गुड इवनिंग सर.
गुड इवनिंग.
Sir, can we compare today's age in our country as the dark age? Because people
Not at all.
they are mostly following they have become the followers of the leaders.
Not at all. Not at all. Trust me, not at all. I will explain that. When we come to the age of democracy, you will understand that how the things have changed.
Okay, thank you.
Right. All right, thank you. You can put your hand down as well. Once someone gets the mic, you have to put your hand down as well. All right. And guys, make it a habit not to raise hands unnecessarily for asking anything. It must be something that is very important. Okay, Chinmay, quickly.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So can one conclude that the Pope had enjoyed more political sway
Yes,
over the
yes,
people
yes. I
than
will
the-
explain that. I will explain that when we come to the age of enlightenment. I will explain that.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Ankita, bolo Ankita Mishra.
Yes, am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are. Please be quick and ask your question.
Yes, just wanted to ask that will feudalism decrease the power of the king or will it increase? Because if
Power was decreased because kings became dependent on the support of the feudal lords, so that's why the power decreased.
But he wanted to become very strong. That's why he appointed.
No. He didn't want it to become strong. He wanted to keep at least some territory under his control. Otherwise, some of the people would have denied him basic territory as well.
Understood. Okay.
Great. Fantastic.
you.
Thank you, Khushi. God bless you. Put your hand down. And next is Muhammad Hassan. Nishant, haven't I given you mic already?
Good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening.
So I'm asking that how these words feudal lords, knights, serfs came into existence.
This is very simple. Yeah, this didn't happen overnight. Na? It is part of life. How come there are few people among us today even who become political leaders? Why not we all become political leaders? So there are some leaders who are basically born leaders, right? Some people are born with some skills. So the same way the feudal lords became the feudal lords, same way they identified the people to be appointed as knights, and then we always keep serving the leaders. We normal common people are like this only. Fine.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Nishant. Yes, Nishant.
So can we say that the churches and the popes were directly or indirectly controlling the administration of the kings?
Yes, I will explain that. I told somebody else asked me. I said I will explain this in some time.
Okay, sir. Sorry.
No, no, don't be sorry. Now, is there anyone left to ask any question, or can I, Manav? Yes, Manav Chakrabarti, please tell me.
Sir, actually, like you said, the church is under dual command of the Pope and King. So, in case there is some conflict or clash between these two institutions,
Pope will become more powerful. I will explain in a while from now.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
अंकिता, अभी तो आपसे माइक लिया था बेटा, दोबारा से.
Sorry, sir. People were asking regarding church, so I got one question. Will the church under one territory will be of that?
I have to explain. I haven't explained anything. Ankita, I haven't explained anything about church. Give me 5 minutes and you will know everything about church as well. Salamat Hussain. बताएं भाईजान आप क्या पूछना चाह रहे हैं?
Sir, how the Pope is appointed?
Okay, how the Khalifa was appointed?
No idea.
तुम्हें खलीफा का नहीं पता इस्लाम में?
No, sir.
Okay, there was Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Yes.
Then there was Abu Bakr, Umar, Usman, Ali,
Yes, sir.
and then the Ummah started electing the next Khalifa.
Yes.
Same is the rule for Pope, right?
It's kind of hurried.
It can be or it cannot be. At times it can be, at times it cannot be. है ना? Okay. Thank you. ओ यार ऐसे तो क्लास तो 10 दिन नहीं खत्म होगी जैसे तुम लोग ये बच्चों वाले डाउट्स पूछना शुरू हो गए हो. ये तो दिस इज लाइक किड्स. How can we prepare for IAS if we keep asking doubts like this? Yeah, guys, you have to tell me in the chat box how many of you want these kind of things to be asked. I have opened the chat box. Tell me. I too can keep answering all these questions. I have opened the chat box. Tell me how many of you want me to answer every question like this. You have to give that liberty to me that I will decide whether the topic is important which you are asking or not, and then I will explain it or not, right? चले आगे पढ़ते हैं अब. Let's move on. So let's write something about feudalism, and remember it is not part of the syllabus. We have to just understand. So I will give you a definition of feudalism that you will write with me, and after writing the definition then we will move on to the next topic, right? That I will explain you guys. Write it down. Feudalism, if you are missing on the spellings of feudalism then write it down. Feudalism was a social economic and political setup in Western Europe during the early Middle Ages. Feudalism was the social, economic and political setup in Western Europe during the early Middle Ages, within brackets write 5th to 12th centuries, 5th to 12th centuries, when the power of the king the power of the king declined, when the power of the king declined and the political authority got dispersed. Political authority got dispersed. Political authority got dispersed. Second point, the kings had to appoint feudal lords by assigning them land in lieu of the services lieu of the services provided by them. For example, military services, comma, economic services, that is collecting taxes, and political services like maintaining law and order, and dispensing justice. Maintaining law and order and dispensing justice. Third point, is, with the passage of time, the feudal lords became more powerful. And the kings became dependent on them. Whereafter these feudal lords started appointing knights under them on the same terms and conditions on which these feudal lords were appointed by the kings. Fourth point, in this system of feudalism, the institution of church became equally important as church also controlled lot of land, but one unique feature for church was the fact that it was controlled by Pope II, TOO2, as a central authority. I will explain this after some time. Just write it as a central authority. Last, however, after 12th century, feudalism started to decline, and the authority of king once again started to emerge And by 18th century, feudalism as a system, started to disappear from Europe. Feudalism as a system started to disappear from Europe. Make a sub point to this last point. Some of the more important reasons for decline of feudalism were A, B and C. We will write three things. Number 1, A, rise of middle class with the development of trade and commerce. Number 2, second point, new methods of war needing modern weapons. And last, the rise of the idea of nationalism. So friends, I have dictated one thing extra. What I explained, it is decline of feudalism. So if I say feudalism as a system continued from 5th to 12th century, then its decline will also be very slow. If something rise in such a long span of time, 700 years, so it will not disappear in 100 years now. So from 12th to 18th century, there was decline of feudalism. Something that became so important in 700 years, it ended in 600 years. So it is like 1300 years of the age of feudalism, to be very precise. But then from 12th century onwards, there was a decline. From 5th century onward, there was a rise. Now why it started to decline? So I said there was rise of middle class. Now rise of middle class is because of development of trade and commerce. So what we were saying, in feudalism there was king, there was feudal lord, there were knights, and then there were serfs, and these serfs were nothing but peasants who were only doing agriculture, cultivation. But after 12th century, now people started doing some kind of trade and commerce as well. Somebody will come and buy something from these peasants and start selling it. Somebody will start doing some handicrafts. Things will improve with the passage of time, and this naturally happens. Now we know that 10 years ago there were no smartphones, 15-20 years ago there were no smartphones, 30 years ago there were no mobile phones. So things keep on coming now. So when the trade and commerce came, now there is the rise of middle class. Now what is this middle class? Today I will explain you in a method. This was the society. It was believed that king is sitting at the top, right? Then there is this top class in which we have nobility. Both nobility is noblemen. Nobility is both the feudal lords and their knights. They are feudal lords and their knights are nobility, and the church officers called the clergy. They are the nobility, right? So they are the nobility. Feudal lords and knights are nobility, church is clergy, and these two classes were called privileged classes. Right? They had privileges. They were considered very important, and rest of the society was the common people, commoners. They were common people. Now all these common people were doing agriculture and they were serving the top section of this society. But today there are some people who are doing trade and commerce. So there are common people who are doing agriculture, there are privileged people, the feudal lords and the church authorities, and in between them now there is a middle class who are doing trade and commerce. When this middle class came who were doing trade and commerce, they were making more money. They were comparatively better off or richer than the common people because they had more money. They also had better possibility of education. That is why we always call educated middle class or middle class intellectuals. Now these middle class intellectuals, They want the power to be given not just to few people, the privileges, they want the same privileges for them, they want the same rights for them. So they started supporting the king, that you should have the power, right? You should have more authority with you, so that you can give better equality to the people. And they were the ones who were against the privileges of these feudal lords and the church. So these people, because of their wealth, because of their money, because of their education, they started supporting the king. When they supported the king, idea of nationalism emerged. And when the idea of nationalism emerged, where earlier there were so many parts within one country, now everyone wants one king having control over all the territory, right? So this way strong nation state will emerge. Strong nation state means under one king. Now feudal lords are no more required. Secondly, third reason which I explained, this was second. Third, earlier there were wars where you used to use bow and arrow and swords, now with talwar and tir kaman, bow and arrow and everything. But now when you fight, you need cannons, you need modern weapons, ammunition, which is very expensive. These small feudal lords cannot have this much of money, but now the king has more powers, he can have better weapons, he can defeat these feudal lords if they do not obey the king, and then they can fight the other king himself now. So king will have his own army, king will have his own modern weaponry. So now the king has become more powerful. This is how feudalism came to end. Now friends, tell me, if I explain and then I dictate and I explain again, will it serve everyone's purpose? And can you have that patience that you let teacher teach, explain, dictate, explain, and then ask, do you want to ask more or not? The chat box is open. Is there anyone who is having any problem now? Is there anyone who is not able to understand anything about feudalism only? So can I continue for next 25-30 minutes now without bothering, like, Naveen, please raise your hand quickly. Yes, Naveen, if you are saying I'm still fast.
Yes, sir. You connect things very beautifully, sir, and it is very memorable. But when
If I will be slow, I will be giving you a slow poison to not clear IS exam. Trust me for that. If I get slower than this now, it will be a slow poison for you to fail the IS exam, because you will be habitual of being so slow that you can never win the race. How many of you, let's quickly raise the hands, how many of you think that I am teaching very fast or even fast? Just raise your hands. How many of you think that is it? Now how many of you think that this is right pace at which I am teaching? How many of you are comfortable and you think that this is the pace at which it should be taught? I suppose, Naveen, you got your answer.
yes, sir.
Great, thank you. Thank you, everyone. So we are done with feudalism, right? This is how we have to understand feudalism. Now that there was the age of feudalism, we have to write one last line. We haven't written that line. So put a star mark and write that last line, which I already explained. The age of feudalism was also called the Dark Ages. The age of feudalism was also called the Dark Ages because during those times people were more superstitious. People were more superstitious and they did not apply logic to anything. All right, because they did not use logic. So that is why it is called Dark Age. Now once feudalism as a topic is over, now what will happen next? See, there was this age of feudalism, and now there is a decline in this age of feudalism, with which there is rise of middle class, and this middle class is someone who is doing trade and commerce. When they are doing trade and commerce, they are also trying to get modern ideas through education. This is what we have already understood. Now let's connect it with the next thing. Next topic is Renaissance. Renaissance, right? This is our next topic. This is something that starts from 14th 15th century onwards. 14th 15th century onwards is the age of Renaissance, right? This is the age of Renaissance. Now what is Renaissance? Now what I mean by Renaissance, literal meaning you can write now along with my explanation, because here something is that I have to explain you properly, right? And you can write as well along with. Renaissance is literal meaning is rebirth. Rebirth. Literal meaning of the word is rebirth, and it started from Italy. It started from Italy. Now first I will explain. Now don't write, try understand what is this idea of rebirth and what is this idea of Renaissance. So this is 14th 15th century Europe, right? In between from 5th to 12th century there was the Dark Ages. Now today I will try to make you understand one very important idea of history which students seldom understand. Now these 2 centuries in between, or 1 century, that 13th century, right, it is not missing. Now what happened is, we are made to believe during our school days that history is something like this, that one age comes to an end, then the second starts, then it ends, then the third starts. History is not like this, that there is an end to one age and then another age starts. It is like this. There was something, it did not end, but something new started, right? And then it continued for a while independently. This was the independent time of that thing, and then before it could end, something new already started, and then there was again a transition. So in history there are transitions. When in the 12th century we say that feudalism or the Dark Ages started to decline, it will take some time for them to decline. In between many more events will happen, and every event will take us towards the modern times, right? So history is not watertight compartmentalization. History is a movement of events with an overlap. So what I was trying to tell you, we are talking about 14th 15th century Europe, where there started something called Renaissance, which means rebirth, right? You can make this on your notebook as well. Before this there was 5th to 12th century of Dark Ages. During these Dark Ages, Europe was all superstitious. It was all superstitions in Europe, right? Everyone was living in Dark Age, they had no knowledge. But before this, there was ancient times. This is Middle Ages. Middle Ages. Then there was ancient times. In the ancient times, there was, before this, as I told you, it started with the fall of Roman Empire, and before the Roman Empire there was ancient Greeks. Ancient Greeks, right? Now when I talk about these ancient Greeks, you know whom I'm talking about? I'm talking about people like Socrates, I'm talking about people like Plato, I'm talking like Aristotle, I'm talking like Pythagoras, right? Pythagoras we all know, mathematician. Socrates a political philosopher, Plato a political philosopher, Aristotle a political philosopher, a biologist, and like a genius in sciences and everything, right? So they are the very knowledgeable people. Ancient Greeks, they knew the idea of democracy as well, right? They knew the idea of democracy as well, these ancient Greeks. The Romans, they gave us such a wonderful idea of jurisprudence. Modern day, many of the things in jurisprudence are from the Roman Empire's time. So what is the logic here? That before the Middle Ages, in the ancient times in Europe, there was much knowledge, there was better life because there was democracy, right? And then gradually the things started to decline, and by the Middle Ages it became the Dark Ages. Fine. Now the people in 14th 15th centuries, when that middle class started to get education, they said we cannot continue with these superstitions. We will look beyond the Dark Ages into the past and seek inspiration from the Romans and the Greeks. We will go back into the past, learn the things from them to work a better future for us. So that is why we say it is Renaissance, which literally means rebirth, means you go back in time, find your inspiration, find your ideas from the past to make your better future. So that is why it is called rebirth or Renaissance. Is it clear everyone what is Renaissance and why it is called rebirth or what it all is? Looking beyond the Dark Ages and everything, clear to everyone? Okay, I'm explaining it, you are making some flowcharts, then I will dictate the line as well. Okay, all right. So why it started from Italy? Now here we have a great explanation for all of us, right? Here we have a great explanation for all of us. I will show you something on the board that you will enjoy, and then you will better relate with the things. Is it visible to everyone now? Is this map visible to everyone, friends? I'm opening the chat box so that you can confirm that, right? Just a moment. Yes, is it clearly visible to everyone? Great. Now look at this. Okay, that's great. Look at this now. So friends, there was a time when there was a land route, right? There was a land route that connected Asia to Europe. Asia to Europe, right? There was this red colored is land route, right? It started from China, it came from India to Kashmir, to Afghanistan, to Europe, beyond the Caspian Sea, right? Syria, Lebanon, and going into Eastern Europe. This is called the Old Silk Route. Old Silk Route. Fine. Now what happens is, this Old Silk Route was very, very important for the trade of Eastern and Western countries. Now I will try to explain you without that map. Fine. You can search that map on internet yourself. So there was a time when from China a route started that came to India. There was no Pakistan. Then it went to Afghanistan, from Afghanistan to Iran, Iraq region, from where it went to Syria, Lebanon region, from where it can move on to the Eastern European countries. Eastern European countries. You know, today you will understand East India Company, Eastern Europe, then Western Europe, where we have England. England want to come to India and China to do trade. They have to come to the eastern side, East India Company, right? East India Company. Simple. Fine. Every name has a logic to it. Now this was the trade route. This old trade route was very great. Because of this trade route, those traders and merchants, trade and commerce people, right? Traders and merchants, or the trade and commerce people, they used to travel on this route. Somebody will come from Iran to buy things from India. People of China will sell things to India. Indians will go to Iran. Iran will give it to Syria. Then it will go to Eastern Europe and then to Western Europe. So people were moving. Trade and commerce was growing. That is how trade and commerce was growing, and that is how these people were becoming rich. Fine. Now this route was used for all the trade. Great trade was going on, right? But in 1456, the Ottoman Turks came. Ottoman Turks in the region of Turkey. In the region of Turkey, the Ottoman Turks came, and there was a city called Constantinople, which is present day Istanbul on the Caspian Sea, right? Istanbul. Now this Constantinople is the old name for Istanbul. It is the capital of Turkey, we all know. So yes, what happened? Constantinople, the Turks captured it. Somewhere here the area was captured by Turks, and now these Ottoman Turks wanted to control this entire trade route so that they can get more money, so that they can become militarily strong and they can win more territory. When the Turks captured this territory, right? When they captured this territory, they started moving towards Iran, they started trying to move towards India and towards Europe as well, and to Africa. Egypt is very important for them. They will try to move towards Africa, towards the Eastern Europe, towards the Asian side. Now there is so much of war going on in this area that trade is no more possible. Because trade is no more possible, one reason is trade is no more possible. Another very important thing, very important thing, when the Turks captured this area, many of the intellectuals who were living in this area that the Turks have captured, they will run towards Eastern Europe or towards Western Europe. Intellectuals, the people who have knowledge, who are more educated, they will run. There was a time when all this trade route was connected. So knowledge from India, knowledge from Iran, Iraq, knowledge from Baghdad, knowledge from Syria, knowledge from Europe, it was also interconnected. Somebody going from India will tell them about Vedas, somebody in Iran will tell them about Zendavesta, somebody in Syria will tell them about some different ideas or perhaps about Quran, and somebody in Europe will tell them about Bible. So people will exchange ideas, people will exchange knowledge, new experiments, new ideas, everything is being exchanged. Now these people, they move to Europe. When they moved to Europe, these intellectuals, they started reading the old literature of Europe, that ancient Greek and Roman literature with which Renaissance became possible. And why Italy? Now why Italy? The idea here is that if I look at that same map, right, it is not shown in this map. Let me show you the other map in which we can get a better idea of it. Let me show you another map. Simranjit Kaur, if you could understand, you can write as well, I suppose. This was very simple question, simply answered by me, I hope. Okay, look at this. If there was one Silk Route, this orange line, there was also sea routes connecting to Europe, but all the sea routes will come here, and here we have Italy. This is Italy as a foot of Europe. So all the trade routes will end in Italy. So Italy is the place where all the traders and merchants are coming. Italy is the place where more money is generated. Because of money, trade, middle class, people coming to Italy, Italy became the place from where Renaissance started. Is it clear, everyone? Now I will dictate as well. Is it clear what is Renaissance, why it started from Italy? All right, now we will write a little bit about Renaissance. Thank you, Ashwini and Shreya, Shiraj and everyone. Thank you. So write something about Renaissance. Just a moment. I have kept my notes in my phone, but my phone's battery is little low. Just a moment. Okay, write it down now. Renaissance literally means rebirth. Literally means rebirth, and it is the period that followed the Middle Ages, when the interest in classical ideas of ancient Greeks became a new fashion, and it started from Italy from 14th century onwards. It started from Italy from 14th century onwards. Second point, one of the main reasons for the coming of Renaissance was the fall of Constantinople to the Turks in 1453. मैंने पहले 56 बोला था, I suppose 56, it is 1453. I'm sorry for that wrong fact. In 1453, fall of Constantinople to the Turks in 1453. Next point. Renaissance had some basic features like number one, humanism. Now what is humanism? Let's write about humanism. What is humanism? Let's write about it. It is an idea that emphasizes on the importance of man in this world. Now what I mean by this, it emphasizes on the importance of man in this world. So when I was telling you that it was dark ages, I said it was all superstition. Now in this superstition there was an idea that the birth of anyone, if I am born, you are born, it is nothing to be celebrated. We should not be happy that we are born as human beings. Idea is that if we did something very good in the past birth, right, if I was very good in the past birth, I was a good man, then I would have attained salvation. I should not have been reborn. Birth, death, rebirth is a sign of the continuity of a sin. हमसे कुछ पाप हुए, we committed sin, and that is why we are reborn. Otherwise we would have attained salvation, we would not have been reborn. So that means the man's birth is nothing to be celebrated, it is a result of his past sin. Now if you enjoy your life again, if you try to enjoy your life, if you try to earn money, if you try to make more relations, and if you do not do all these superstitions, then you will come back, and this is a curse. This is nothing that you should be happy about. So man's life was not about his life on this planet earth, it was about what will happen after death. How can I ensure that I should not be reborn? That means man was not allowed to live his life as a man. There was no dignity. You were always cursed. See, you are so bad, you are again born. Who is telling this? Church. And the people of church, the officers of church, they are as human as we are, but they claimed at that time that they are God's saints. They are very special, they are blessed people, God has chosen them, and they are here to tell us that what we should do and what we should not do, and if we follow them, only then we can get that salvation. But now when people are little more educated, they decline to follow these superstitions, and the idea of humanism emerges, and they say that it is the dignity of the man. It is not about that other world after death, like what will happen after death. It is about enjoying the life now, here and now. That is humanism. Is it clear, everyone, what is humanism? I have opened the chat box. Is it clear? Great. And the second feature of Renaissance is rationalism. Rationalism, it is again related to the same idea. Rationalism is related to same idea. Now what is rationalism? Hyphen lagao, put a small line after rationalism. Rationalism, not to believe unless seen or touched. We will not believe anything unless we have seen it or we have touched it. We only believe in practicality, no more theories. That is Renaissance, right? I hope now you understand what is Renaissance. You understand what is feudalism, what are dark ages. Now when Renaissance came, we understand one thing, there is an element of middle class behind it. Middle class is not just about education, it is also about trade and commerce. Now that we understand that this middle class which is behind the idea of Renaissance is more about trade and commerce, and we know that when this Renaissance started, that old Silk route, it came under Turks and it became unsafe. So what should these people be doing now? Their now new quest is finding new sea routes. So it is now age of discovery. This will be followed by the age of discovery. Age of discovery, that is our next topic. Now this is the time when people in Europe will start exploring new sea routes. So Columbus will come to America, and Vasco da Gama will come to India in 1498. Now they are finding new routes to reach new territories, right? This is age of discovery, to find new sea routes, new routes to find new territories, so that more and more trade and commerce can be ensured, it can be carried on. Is it clear, everyone, that how Renaissance leads to age of discovery? Is it clear? So from feudalism, dark ages, to Renaissance, Renaissance is rebirth. People are now finding more interest in this world. Now to the age of discovery, finding new routes to go to new places, to do more trade and commerce, right? This is the time we are going on. Obviously, yes, Chinmay. Right? I have to share the notes. Akanksha Jan, I explained that, na? Okay, I explained it, you didn't understand it. Let me explain once more to you. See, what led to the quest of new sea routes? Okay, this I have to explain as well. And राधे श्याम शर्मा जी, इससे स्लो लिखवाऊंगा. शर्मा जी, ट्रस्ट मी, आईएएस तो नहीं बन पाएगा कोई भी. हमें आदत पड़ जाएगी आराम आराम से लिखने की. थोड़ी स्पीड आपको भी बढ़ानी है. अब आप बड़े हो यार, आप एलकेजी यूकेजी के बच्चे थोड़ा वैसे नहीं करेंगे ना. अच्छा आकांक्षा, व्हाई इट स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम इटली? बिकॉज इटली वाज द एपीसेंटर ऑफ ट्रेड एंड कॉमर्स इन यूरोप. सेंटर था ना वो यूरोप का, वहां से सारा ट्रेड चलता था, ज्यादा लोग वहां आते हैं, ज्यादा पैसा वहां है, because it is the epicenter of trade and commerce. That is why, Akanksha, if it is clear, just raise your hand once and then put it down. ग्रेट, फैंटास्टिक. राधे शर्मा जी, अगर आपको मेरी बात समझ आएगी, आप भी एक बार हाथ खड़ा करके नीचे रख दीजिए, और अगर बात समझ नहीं आई है तो हाथ खड़ा रखिएगा, मैं आपको माइक देता हूं. ग्रेट, थैंक यू. और निशांत ओरन, why new sea routes? Because they want to increase more and more trade and commerce. That is why that land route is unsafe. They've discovered new sea routes so that they can go to new places and do more trade and commerce. If Nishant, it is clear, raise your hand and put it down. Thank you. Now, can I ask one question? There is someone who is raising hand. Pawan Kumar. भाई पवन जी बताइए.
Sir, Columbus was the one who sailed to West Indies, but the
Amerigo Vespucci was the one who reached America. I know that. Don't worry. So he went to Caribbean, right? Columbus.
So why do we always call that Columbus has founded the America?
आप लड़के रहे हो यार, क्यों इतना गुस्सा खा रहे हो?
नहीं सर, मतलब like I'm asking.
हाँ, इतने गुस्से में मत पूछो ना. आप इंटरव्यू देने जाओगे, यूपीएससी सिलेक्ट होगे, तो आप इतने गुस्से में थोड़ा वहाँ बात करोगे यार.
And actually I'm asking sir.
हाँ, प्यार से पूछो, प्यार से. तो मैं बताता हूँ हुआ क्या है. अगर आप कैरिबियन तक ही नहीं पहुंचोगे तो अमेरिका तक तो पहुंच नहीं पाओगे ना. कैरिबियन इज द डोर ओपनिंग टू अमेरिकास. There was a time when the European people, they were not even knowing that there is any landmass of Americas. For them, there was no America. They thought it is only and only Asia and Africa, because they were doing trade from ancient times. When accidentally, what Columbus was to find route to India. Columbus को तो India ढूंढना था, but he did not come to India. He went to American side. He ended up in West Indies, that Caribbean area. And वहाँ के जो local लोग थे, उन्होंने उसको Red Indians का नाम देना शुरू कर दिया, right? But once they reached to Caribbean, they found new world. They started calling America and that area as new world. कि हमने तो नई दुनिया खोज ली. We were not even aware that there is such a huge landmass across the ocean. Atlantic के उस तरफ इतना बड़ा landmass है, ये तो पता नहीं था यूरोप को. फिर अमेरिगो वेस्पुची गया और उसने प्रॉपर अमेरिकन कॉन्टिनेंट देखा. बट डोर ओपन किसने किया? कोलंबस ने. इसलिए कोलंबस को हम क्रेडिट देते हैं दैट ही डिस्कवर्ड द रूट टू अमेरिका। क्लियर हो गया?
Okay, sir. Thanks.
नो नीड टू से थैंक्स, दैट्स द जॉब ऑफ अ टीचर। इसलिए तो तुमने फीस दी है, इसलिए तो मैं पढ़ा रहा हूँ। ऑलराइट, सो फ्रेंड्स, नाउ कैन आई आस्क वन क्वेश्चन इफ आई ओपन द चैट बॉक्स? कैन यू लेट मी नो? यस, कैन आई आस्क वन क्वेश्चन टुडे? चलो फ्रैंकली यहाँ लिखेंगे नहीं, बिकॉज अगर लिखेंगे तो मैं पढ़ नहीं पाऊंगा। हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू एग्री कि स्कूल टाइम में नो वन ड्यूरिंग आवर स्कूल नो वन टॉट हिस्ट्री प्रॉपर बाय एक्सप्लेनिंग थिंग्स लाइक दिस? इसीलिए हिस्ट्री में साला इंटरेस्ट ही नहीं बना कभी किसी का, सबको हिस्ट्री बोरिंग लगती रही। आज तो नहीं किसी को हिस्ट्री बोरिंग लग रही है? चैट बॉक्स में बताओ जरा जल्दी से मुझे। आज तो नहीं ऐसा लग रहा है हिस्ट्री इज अ बोरिंग सब्जेक्ट? हिस्ट्री में भी लॉजिक्स हैं यार, हिस्ट्री को भी याद किया जा सकता है। मितेश कुमार, हाथ खड़ा कर भाई। मितेश हाथ खड़ा करना जल्दी से एक बार प्लीज। मितेश को बोल रहा हूं मैं। हाँ मितेश, अभी भी बोरिंग लग रही है मिथिलेश? माइक ऑन करो यार।
यस सर।
अभी भी बोरिंग है?
आपका मतलब हिस्ट्री में इंटरेस्ट ही नहीं है आगे।
छोड़ो यार, क्या कर रहे हो? कहाँ 1.5 घंटा वेस्ट क्यों कर दिया अभी तक? छोड़ो, क्लास छोड़ो और जाओ। 1.5 घंटा वेस्ट किया तुमने एक बोरिंग सब्जेक्ट पे यार, इतनी हिम्मत कहाँ से आई? है ना मिथिलेश, ये तो बहुत समय व्यर्थ कर दिया यार। छोड़ो, लीव द क्लास, बाय बाय, टेक केयर। मिथिलेश को हम ही बाय करते हैं क्लास से। बाय मिथिलेश, गॉड ब्लेस यू, एंजॉय योर लाइफ, डू समथिंग बेटर। चलो नेक्स्ट पढ़ते हैं अब। भाई हिस्ट्री इज माई ब्रेड एंड बटर। हिस्ट्री पढ़ता हूँ, हिस्ट्री पढ़ाता हूँ, हिस्ट्री की किताबें लिखता हूँ। अगर मेरे को कोई बोलेगा हिस्ट्री बोरिंग है, मेरे को तो वो बंदा ही बोरिंग लगेगा। आई होप यू अंडरस्टैंड। किसी को बुरा तो नहीं लगा जो मैंने किया है? अगर लगा तो बता देना प्लीज। इतने प्यार से हिस्ट्री पढ़ा रहा हूँ, इतना समझा रहा हूँ, अभी वो कह रहा है हिस्ट्री बोरिंग है। ऐसी की तैसी हिस्ट्री बोरिंग है। चलो आगे पढ़ा जाए अब। कैन वी कंटिन्यू गाइस? Around from every class we have to read history from every class, so you cannot choose my friend. All right, so now that what has happened is, in this age of Renaissance, while we started this idea of age of discovery, now something new will happen. Now listen to this something new, and today you will be little surprised. Okay, I will open the chat box, but you will only write true or false. I will write something on the board, you have to just write true or false. Sun rises in east and it sets in west. So is it true or false? Just write it in the chat box. True, 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 true. Okay, wait. There are only a couple of people who are saying false. So my dear friends, today we all know that sun is stationary and earth revolves around the sun. We all know this. Is it true or false? We all know that sun is stationary and earth is moving. Is it true, friends? It is true. Then how can there be a sunrise or sunset? Sun to is standing at one place, earth is moving, and you call it universal truth. Isn't it bad? Isn't it wrong that sun rises in east and sets in west? It's a wrong concept. I hope you now agree to this. So when it was the control of church on education, when church controlled education, they said, we live on this earth. Earth is not moving. See, sun moves. Sun comes from here and goes there. Sun rises in the east, sets in the west. And they said it is universal truth. Right? We were told this, but this is wrong. Then people like Galileo, people like Copernicus, they invented telescope, they looked at the heavenly bodies and they said, see, what we need to today understand, the thing is that it is not a geocentric universe. Geocentric universe means earth is not the center of universe as the church was telling us. It is heliocentric universe. Heliocentric means sun is the center of universe. Now that the ideas of the church have been proved to be wrong, ideas of church have been proved to be wrong. यार ये तो बहुत ही गलत बात है, बहुत ही गलत बात है। मैं कुछ समझा रहा होता हूँ, बीच में कोई भी आता है और बोलता है सर नोट्स कहाँ मिलेंगे। भाई पहले पढ़ तो लो, पढ़ने आए हो कि सिर्फ पूछने आए हो? बताओगे मुझे जल्दी से, जिसने लिखा था सर वेयर विल यू सेंड द नोट्स, खुशी बत्रा। पढ़ने आए हो कि सिर्फ पूछने आए हो यार? इंपॉर्टेंट क्या था आज ये कॉन्सेप्ट को समझना। नोट्स तो दुनिया में हजारों पड़े हैं यार, कहीं से भी नोट्स ले लो। कोई समझाएगा चीजों को इतने आराम से, प्यार से? पहले हम समझ तो लें यार। नोट्स भी दूंगा मैं, भाग थोड़ा जाऊंगा। You will get everything. All right. Now that the church has been teaching us something that has been proved to be wrong, तो आज से church under attack होगा। Now that we think logically, so church is under attack. Now when church comes under attack for its wrong ideas, for its superstitions and for its evil practices, wrong practices, right? So now the next topic is Reformation and Counter-Reformation. Reformation and Counter-Reformation, and this will start from Germany and it will be started by Martin Luther. Martin Luther. These are all important facts for Punjab PCS. These are very important facts. For UPSC, so they are. For Punjab PCS prelim exam, these are very important facts. Where did Renaissance start? Italy. From where Reformation started? From Germany. Who started Reformation? Martin Luther, right? All right. So now I have to explain you something about Reformation and Counter-Reformation. So the next topic is Reformation and Counter-Reformation. By the word itself, Reformation, first word, Reformation, to reform or to improve, right? Now, the institution called church, this institution, church, is not just a religious institution, it is also a political institution. As I was telling you, church used to get lot of land. So because it used to get lot of land, it also got powers of feudal lords, of knights. So it was also a political institution. There is another explanation which I will give after 2 minutes. First, now church was not just a religious institution, it was also a political institution. So the Pope, who is the head of all the churches all over the world, Pope is someone who is considered to be head of all the churches. He was considered to be the king of all kings, king of all kings, big time king, right? Now, he had so much of power and had so much of control over the lives of people, of the kings and everyone, that he had got absolute power, right? Now he has so much of power, so where there is more power there is more corruption. So therefore there was lot of corruption in the church. If someone is pope and he is to appoint somebody in any of the churches, the appointment procedure was not the merit, that you are meritorious. It was how much money you can pay to the pope. Pope will take bribe and appoint you. So there were so many wrong things going in the church. And this man, Martin Luther, in Germany, he was also a officer of the church. He was also a religious man, but he was very nice. He was very upset with all these wrong practices, the corruption, the bribe, all these wrong informations and all these bad things that the church was doing. So he got affected with this and he opened a revolt against the church. He revolted against the church wrong practices and he wanted the church to reform or to improve itself. This is called Reformation. So what is Reformation? Write down. Reformation is the challenge to the challenge to the wrong practices of the church. Reformation is the challenge to the wrong practices of the church because of the evil practices followed by it Subpoint. It was started by Martin Luther. In Germany. Now, before I dictate the third point, let's understand one more thing. I hope you all will agree to one point, that religion is a very strong power. Religion is a very strong power, right? Now, religion is so strong that everybody cannot challenge or revolt against religion all of a sudden. Like, if somebody is changing religion, that hundreds of people or thousands of people will oppose it as well. So because religion was very strong, now Martin Luther wanted church to change its way, right? He wanted the church to reform, but then there were some people who did not agree to it, so they started counter-reformation. They said, we don't want to change as Martin Luther want us to change. We can change, we can reform, but in our own way. We have our own ideas. We don't want to follow what Martin is saying. So what will happen now? The people who follow the Christian religion, these people, they will get divided into two parts. Somebody is impressed with the idea of Martin Luther and somebody is not agreeing to ideas of Martin Luther. So what will happen? Those who are with Martin Luther, they are protesting against the church, established church. They are protesting. So they will be now called Protestants. In Christianity, now there will be two groups. As we know now, in Islam there are two groups, main two groups, Shia and Sunni. Similarly, in Christianity there are two main groups, Protestants and those who did not want to change much. They are Catholics and Protestants. The Protestants and Catholics. So the people of Europe became divided into two parts. They are Protestants if they are supporting the ideas of Martin Luther, and they are Catholics if they are not supporting the ideas of Martin Luther. Now I will answer the question that many students were asking initially in the class. So before this Reformation, Counter-Reformation, what was Europe like? If this was entire Europe, there were many kings in this Europe, right? All these kings had many feudal lords under them, under all these kings, right? In every country we had a king, every king had many feudal lords under him, and these feudal lords further had many knights under them. But people, common people, the serfs all over Europe were same, right? Now they said, this is Christendom, the kingdom of the Christ. This entire Europe is Christendom, and because now Christ is not there, his authority is vested in the Pope. So Pope is the king of all the kings of Europe. So this is one country under one Pope. The Pope has appointed the kings in the countries. The kings have appointed the knights and feudal lords. The feudal lords have appointed the knights. The common people serve. The common people serve the king, they serve the lord, they serve the knight, and they also serve the church. So common people have only to serve. Their life is only to serve. They have come to serve others. They have no dignity, no rights, nothing about them. They are like kida makoda. They are like nothing. They are not important at all, right? This was Christendom. But today Europe stands divided into two groups, the Protestants and the Catholics. Now when there are two groups, there is obviously going to be a war. So there started 30 years long religious war in Europe. 30 years long religious war started in Europe between Protestants and Catholics, right? Now the kings, there are so many kings in Europe. So the kings also got divided as Protestant and Catholics. Some of the kings will support Martin Luther, someone will support the powers of Pope. They will not support Martin Luther but Pope. So the kings are also fighting the war with their armies, right? The Protestant and the Catholics are fighting the war. This 30 years war, it ended in 1648. 30 years war ended in 1648. When this war ended in 1648, now every war, when it ends, there is a treaty to end a war, right? Peace treaty. So this war ended in 1648 when Peace of Westphalia was signed. Peace of Westphalia was signed. 30 years war ended with Peace of Westphalia. Now when this Peace of Westphalia was signed in 1648, it is believed to be something like, now what we call this Peace of Westphalia, it is birth of modern state. Birth of modern state. Now how come it is birth of modern state, the Peace of Westphalia? Let's try understand. As I was explaining you, it was all Europe and it was called Christendom. Christendom means kingdom of the Christ. Christendom, kingdom of the Christ, controlled in the absence of Christ by the Pope, right? Now some of the kings, they are still agreeing to Pope being their king, so they are Catholics, but some of the kings said no, we want independent kings now, so they became the Protestants. Now earlier it was all one country under Pope, now there are divisions, someone is Catholic, someone is Protestant, and because they are Protestants, they are not under the authority of Pope, so they have their independent nation states. There is the new idea that there are independent countries, we are not one under Pope, we are different. This is how Europe became as we look at Europe today. So friends, any doubt up to this point? I have opened the chat box. All clear up to this point, everyone? So you know what is feudalism and dark ages, you know about Renaissance, you know about Reformation and Counter-Reformation. So can we start with the next thing? RC, where did I write RC, man? I haven't written RC anywhere, yaar. The one who has asked, Ashwini, can you raise your hand? Madhvi, that will be explained in polity class, right? Difference between state and nation, it will be explained in the polity class. And Madhvan, can you please quickly ask this question? Ashwini, see, RC in Christianity. Can you raise your hand? Ashwini, see. Hanji, Ashwini, I'm giving you mic. Please tell me, where did I write RC?
No, sir, you have not written. But some of my friends, they say they belongs to RC. So I was asking you.
Okay. That's something very different, but that's not part of our syllabus, so I will not go into it.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Nishant explained the role of Constantinople. It was basically, see, Constantinople was the link for that land route. When the Turks captured it, the land route became unsafe because of constant war. So people had to go to different areas. Because of war, intellectuals also migrated to Europe, with which Renaissance came to Europe. Nishant, if it is clear, raise your hand and put it down. Great, thank you. And Madhvi, if you have understood that I told that this will be explained in polity class, if it's okay, please raise your hand, put it down, or if you want to right now know about it, I will explain it. So if you want to explain it right now, then keep the hand raised, otherwise raise and put it down. Okay, so that means Madhvi want me to explain it right now. Am I right, Madhvi? Please speak.
Yes, sir, if you are comfortable.
I am so comfortable. I'm a teacher of history and political science. I can explain. But we have to divide things. Okay, anyways. See, beta, aisa hai. What is the difference between nation and state? There is something called nation. There is something called state. And then there is a nation state. Fine. Now let me tell you. When I say state, state has 4 elements. The elements are population, territory, government, and sovereignty. Right? If these 4 elements are there, we have a state. when we live in India, we have population of India, there is territory of India, it is defined like this is the territory of India and so on, right? Then we have a government in India, Prime Minister Mr. Modi, and then India is a sovereign country. No outside player can guide us what we have to do. We have our own independence. Now we are a state. When we talk about a nation, nation is a concept where we have common language, common religion, common past, and common aspirations for future. Now that is the idea of nation: common language, common religion, common past, and common aspirations for a future, right? A nation can exist without its territory. For example, up to 1948, for the people of Jewish race religion, there was no state called Israel, right? There was no state, but Jewish people had the idea of nation. They wanted to have their own, they knew that we have common language, common religion, common past, and common future aspirations, that one day we will create our own state. When in 1948 they created their own state, right, that is Israel. Israel became a nation state because people of one religion speaking one language with a common past and future aspirations being common, it came into existence. Now that becomes a nation state. Now I give you another idea. When India became independent in 1947, we became independent as a state, not as a nation or a nation state. Whereas Pakistan, when it came into existence, same in 1947, they said it is a country for Islam. People speaking Islamic language, people of Islamic religion will live in this country. It is an Islamic Republic of Pakistan. It is not the Republic of India. We are not Hindu Republic or a Muslim Republic. We are Republic of India. So we are a state. Pakistan is a nation state. Is it clear now, Madhvi?
Yes, sir. Beautifully explained. Thank you.
Thank you. So by far what I have explained you today from world history is, number one, we started with feudalism and I explained you the idea of dark ages. Then I took you to Renaissance, and along with Renaissance I explained you age of discovery, as well as I explained you the idea of humanism. Then I brought you to Reformation and Counter-Reformation, with which I explained you the idea of religious war and rise of Protestants and Catholics, and the end of religious war through Peace of Westphalia in 1648. Up to this point I have explained you everything, and trust me, and if there is anyone honest in this class, if someone has honestly read NCRTs, any of the NCRTs, be it new NCRTs, old NCRTs, Tamil Nadu books or whatever, is there anyone who can claim that yes, I have tried to read NCRT of world history? Can you raise your hand if there is anyone who can say that yes sir, I tried reading NCRT earlier myself independently? So we have someone here. Can you please keep the hand raised for a while? Naveen. Okay, Naveen. So I'm giving you mic. You have to answer a simple question while I give you mic. Yes, Naveen. Naveen, आप हो कहाँ से यार? From which part of India you are?
Andhra Pradesh, sir.
Andhra. Oh, wonderful. Okay. So Naveen, if you were trying to read these NCRTs, can you tell me, like, do you agree that much of this is not given in NCRT?
Yes, sir. And the NCRTs are very confusing and very scattered information, sir.
So today it is making better sense.
NCRTs give information discarded, sir.
So today it is making better sense, na? You are understanding it in a better way.
Yes, yes, sir.
And moreover, it is giving you information beyond NCRTs.
Yes, sir. From childhood onwards, I doesn't like history, sir. But while teaching from your science and modern India, I am loving this subject.
Okay, great. Thank you. So next is Chinmay Sharma. Hey Chinmay, you are from which part of India?
Sir, I'm from Bengaluru, sir.
Karnataka.
Yes, sir.
So you read your NCRTs before this? World history NCRT?
Yes, sir. I've attempted, and sir, they beat around the bush a lot. So this is very to the point. Like you cut to the chase. So This way better. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we will not just be saving time and energy, we will be doing more fruitful things in the time that we save, and that is the beauty of this course that we have prepared for you guys. Now let's connect the next dot here. So it was feudalism and the dark ages. People had no knowledge, they were living a life full of superstitions. They could not challenge church, they could not challenge king, they could not challenge the feudal lords. And then came Renaissance with its idea of humanism and the age of discovery. People started thinking more rationally, more scientifically, right? When they said that no, sun is not the center of the universe and things like this. When the people became knowledgeable, the first attack was against the church, because church was full of corruption, evil practices. Now that the church has been taken care of, the next step will be enlightenment or age of reason. Age of reason. That is our next topic. So obvious is the fact now that once the church has been challenged, now whose authority is left to be challenged? The authority of the king, or the political authority of the king, the absolute power of the king. So age of enlightenment is all about challenging the authority of the king or the political power. Fine. So let's now start writing a note on age of enlightenment or age of reason, along with the explanation, and the dictation part will go together. Fine. So okay, next topic is enlightenment or the age of reason, and I hope now you know that this is the first topic for the syllabus of our exam. Earlier I was giving you the background to this entire age, and unfortunately none of the NCRTs and many of the good books, even if you go and buy the old NCRT by Arjun Dev sir, they do not cover these topics, but these are part of the syllabus. Fine. Okay, so friends, enlightenment, age of reason. Now what happens in the age of reason? We have to understand few terms here. Absolute monarchy. Absolute monarchy, right? Now what is this idea of absolute monarchy? What happens is, with the end of feudalism, we now know how feudalism ended, and rise of modern state, the powers of king increased. King became very powerful. Now that the king is becoming very powerful, king will have absolute powers, right? Monarchy is a king, monarchy is the system of kingship. Absolute monarchy, king having absolute powers. King can do anything, right? King can do anything. Nobody can challenge the authority of king. That is what we mean by absolute monarchy. Endless powers with the king. So before this age of enlightenment started, the kings have become absolute monarchs. They have become so powerful that they have started calling themselves as God, or the image of God. Better, they call themselves image of God. As common people cannot challenge God, how can these common people challenge the power or authority of the king? Now that is what Europe was like before this age of enlightenment. Fine. Now when this age of enlightenment started, it started from England during 1650s. It has its origin in England. Now what happens in England? In England in 1642 there started civil war. During this civil war, what happened? The king in England was Charles. Now Charles was a very corrupt king, very powerful, absolutely corrupt. You can write on one side of your page, there is a political philosopher called Lord Acton, right? Lord Acton is a political philosopher who has given a very beautiful definition. He said, power corrupts. जब तुम्हारे पास पावर है तो तुम करप्ट हो ही जाते हो. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? That's a statement given by Lord Acton. Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So the kings in Europe were absolutely powerful and absolutely corrupt. So Charles was very corrupt. People were fed up with his corrupt rule, and one fine day people of England revolted. They came and they beheaded Charles. Charles was beheaded. When Charles was beheaded, there was a political philosopher in England by the name of Thomas Hobbes. Thomas Hobbes, right? This man, Thomas Hobbes, saw the assassination of the king or the beheading of the king. When he himself saw it, he was like to now explore that what should be the way in which people should live more peaceful a life. How can king behave proper? How can things be better? So he ended up writing something called social contract theory. He is the first to talk about social contract theory in the Western political thought, right? He talks about social contract theory. He wrote a book by the name of Leviathan. The name of his book is Leviathan, right? Now, in this book, he gave the idea of social contract. Now, what is this social contract? I will explain this to you and we will write very basic of it. Then I will tell you that what more important is there to write about, not about the basic idea only. So he said that there is something called pre-state society. Pre-state society. Now what is pre-state society? That means there was a society but no state, means no king. People lived together, right? In nature, people lived together. We were born as early men and there was no political institutions. We all came on this earth. And one fine day when we all came on this earth, we did not have king, we did not have rules, we did not have any regulations. We were living like in the nature, we all were equal. So when we were living in this pre-state society, he calls it state of nature. State of nature, right? People were living in the state of nature. In this state of nature, Hobbes says that people had natural rights. Now, what are our natural rights? The very basic thing is right to life. Now, I am born because of none of you, right? I am born because of none of you. Then who are you to kill me? My right to life is my natural right. Nature gave me birth, nature can kill me. I will die a natural death. How can I be murdered? How can I be strangulated? How can you kill me? That is unnatural, right? So, there are natural rights of the man. Right to life is one of them. But in the state of nature, in this state of nature where we have natural rights, there are no rules, there are no rulers, no rulers, no rules. So if someone end up killing me, if someone kill me, then who will take care of it? If I die somehow, then who will care for me? So he said people then decided one day that we should have some rulers and some rules so that we can live a better life. You know the beauty of this story, that people thought that we should have some rules for which we should have some rulers. It is the idea of democracy. Before this, there was idea of, what idea existed before this? The idea was of hereditary monarchy. Hereditary monarchy means king's son will naturally become the king because they are the blessed one, they are the images of the god. So it was believed that monarchy is divine, kings are divine, whereas he is saying in his social contract theory that it is a man-made institution. State is man-made. We created state so that we can live a better life, more peaceful life, more organized life. Somewhere, somehow, somebody is trying to tell us something new. For generations, we had been told that state is divine. He said, no, state is nothing divine. It is a man-made institution, right? This is the beginning of the philosophy called liberalism. Liberalism. What is liberalism? Liberalism talks about limited state or limited government. That means king cannot have absolute power. There needs to be some limits on their powers. Now, how can we put limits on the powers of the kings? So the answer is constitutionalism. Constitutionalism. What is constitutionalism? Write a constitution. Now, if you write a constitution, you tell that these are the powers of the government, these are the rights of the people. The government cannot make rule against the rights of the people, right? This is the beauty of the political system in which we live today. Somebody asked me, can we say that it is like the feudalism or the dark ages? No, we live in now a bright age. There is a constitution in India, there is judiciary, there is human rights commission, there are so many things. Who was that student who asked this question in the beginning? Dark age wala? Comparing today's time with dark ages. Ravi, you got your answer now? I'm giving you mic. Please tell me if you got your answer. Ravi, please raise your hand. Yes, have you got your answer?
Yes, sir.
So it's all clear?
Yes, up to a greater extent, it is clear now.
Thank you. Something that is left will definitely be clear in next couple of lectures. I hope so.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Hopefully, sir.
Thank you. All right, friends. So this is beginning of liberalism as well. Writings of Thomas Hobbes is the beginning of liberalism as well. So what did Hobbes contributed to his social contract theory? Thomas Hobbes, he contributed the idea of social contract, and through this social contract he said that state is man-made institution. So if it is a man-made institution, it must serve the man. So before this social contract theory, before it started becoming popular, the idea was state. State here means king, right? State is the end, man is the mean. State is the end, man is the mean. What we mean by this statement, what we should understand from this statement, state or king is the end. End here means the ultimate goal. So the ultimate goal is state or king. There is a king and man is the mean. The people are to serve the king. This is why people exist. The king is someone who has been sent in a divine manner. He is a God's agent or a God's image. So king is the end. We all worship the God. We all worship the king. We cannot revolt against the God. We cannot revolt against the king. Right? So state is the end, man is the mean. Whereas social contract theory changed this idea. They said man is the end, state is the mean. Means I am a man, I am born on this earth. Now I want to live a better life. The end is that I should live a better life. To ensure this better life, I need some agency. So I created this agency as a mean. It is a mean to an end, and the end is a better life for the man. This is how state was conceived. Now the entire thought process will change. People will start demanding rights for them. People will start asking that the king should give us power. King should share power with us. The idea of democracy will emerge. This is the beauty of this age of enlightenment. Is it clear, my dear friends? If I open the chat box, is it clear? All right, thank you. Now continuing further from here, what happens next in England? After this civil war of 1642, then there happened the glorious revolution in England in 1688. England witnessed glorious revolution in 1688 when James II was the king. James II was the king. Now once again, after 1642 when Charles was beheaded, now James is the king in 1688, and people once again are fed up with his wrong policies. He is not being good, so people do not want him to continue as a king. People came to him. People were angry. They could have killed James as well. People were angry and they could have killed, but James submitted before the people. He said, please tell me what you want me to do. People said, we do not like Mr. James, you being our king, so we want you to now abdicate. Please leave. And we think that your sister Mary and her husband William in Holland, Mary and her husband William in Holland, they are better. We would like them to come and rule over England. You should leave. James said, great, if you don't want me to rule, I leave it. Let Mary and William come and rule over you if you want that. So it is a glorious revolution. Nobody is killed. There is no fighting, and the king is changed in a democratic manner. Beautiful thing happened. At that point, another British philosopher, political writer, John Locke. John Locke was sitting there in England. He witnessed this, that how simple it is, that people were not happy with the king. They came and told the king, and king said, all right, I leave it. Isn't it like a beautiful way? He said, yes, I will also think that this is a social contract. A king is a part of this contract, that if a king can do a thing proper in a proper manner, he has the right to continue, but if he fails, then the people have right to revolt in a peaceful manner. Don't turn violent. Just come and tell the king that we don't want you, leave, and they should leave, the king should leave. So he is the one, John Locke, who added the element of right to revolt in a peaceful manner in his idea of social contract theory. So when John Locke wrote this idea that the people have right to revolt in a peaceful manner, he never knew that his idea will inspire the Americans to revolt against the British rule in America, and America will become independent from the control of Britain later on. Fine. So that is why John Locke is called intellectual father of American Revolution. The British philosopher John Locke is called intellectual father of American Revolution. Is it clear, everyone, that how enlightenment is unfolding from England and changing the world in some time from now? Is it clear? I hope history is no more loose and facts. It is no more scattered facts. Everything is related to everything. Am I right, friends? Okay, now let's have a small break. You have a glass of water. I am taking 2 minutes break so that I can have a hot water, little pain in my throat, and then I will continue. All right. So this is not end of the class. This is a small break for 2-3 minutes only. Fine. All right, guys. Am I audible? Guys, am I audible? Okay. Yes, yeah, I understand break is very important. I understand that 3 hours continuity is very difficult. But this is very unfortunate that in our college days, in our school days, we were not made habitual of longer sitting and, more attention span, more focus. We should have been. Am I right, guys? We have been made so very, weak in our focus that every 30-40 minutes we are made to change the topic, or, I'm really very sad about this system. Chalo. So any doubt up to this point, anyone, or shall I continue further now? If you have any doubt, please raise your hands, and if no doubt, then we will continue. Shivangi Sinha. Yes, Shivangi, please tell me. Shivangi, can you please quickly ask?
Hello.
हाँ जी बेटा बोलो.
Sir, can you please repeat what was John Locke called in America?
He was the intellectual father of the American Revolution.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay, now there is someone else. I'm not able to read the name properly. हाँ जी, first tell me what's your name? C. I can read C. I said weak हो गया, क्या हो गया? Hi, I have given you the mic. Can you please quickly switch it on?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Yeah, what's your name?
Sir, my name is Smriti C.
Sumit C. Okay, and you are from?
Sir, I'm from Odisha.
Oh, we are students from all states, I suppose now, है ना? Karnataka, Andhra, now Odisha. Anyone from J&K in the class? Just a moment, just let me see. Anyone from J&K in the class? Just raise your hand if there is anyone from J&K. Let's manifest is from J&K. Okay. Okay, Ayub is from J&K. Anyone from Telangana? Oh, wonderful. Harika is from Telangana. UP, somebody is from UP. Anyone? Oh, Bihar se bhi hain. Sridhar is from, okay, Karnataka, Northeast, Maharashtra, Delhi, Jharkhand, Gujarat, UP, Karnataka, Kerala. Wonderful, yaar. This is all India. I love this. Okay, chalo, padhte hain ab. हाँ, yes, ask your doubt, Shri.
Sir, would you can explain, sir, nation state, sir? That
Nation state is a state which is based on an idea of a common religion or a common language.
Sir, means how is it different from nation?
nation can exist without a state. As I told you now, before the existence of Israel as a country, the Jewish people were a nation, but they had no state of their own. For example, if I take today's world now, people of Palestine, they are asking for a Palestine as a state now, but there is no state. So that's an idea of a nation. Palestine is a nation, it's not a state. If tomorrow it happens to be, it comes into existence, then it will become a nation state.
Okay, sir.
Now it's clear?
Yes, sir.
Wow,
Thank you, sir.
great, thank you. So now continuing from here, guys. Continuing from here, Achha, we have students from Rajasthan, Maharashtra, and everywhere. That's great. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have a cup of tea all alone. I cannot ask you in this online class. So cheers, everyone. I am having my cup of tea. You can have your cup of tea. And over this cup of tea, we can do a lot of research in this world history. Fine. So now after England, where we have Thomas Hobbes and John Locke, these two great philosophers, now these ideas of enlightenment get their best manifestation in France, right? France give us the best of the best enlightenment philosophers. Three of the most amazing philosophers in France were Voltaire, Montesquieu, and Rousseau. Voltaire, Montesquieu, and Rousseau. Voltaire, 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 Montesquieu, 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 and Rousseau, Rousseau, Rousseau. So these are the three great philosophers of France from the age of enlightenment. Let's start first with Mr. Rush. All right, he is the third one to talk about the social contract theory. Social contract theory. But he goes much beyond the idea of social contract and brings two beautiful ideas to it. One is the idea of general will, and the second is the idea of direct democracy. Direct democracy. Before I explain, I narrate, I dictate, I would today like to know how many of you, more than 100 students we are here in the class, how many of you are seriously, honestly, and you have to be very honest. When you go to a doctor, you have to be honest to tell, I did this thing wrong, only I have this particular problem in my body and I need some medication. Otherwise, if you go and tell doctor, no, I'm okay, I've just came here, so how can doctor help you? So to a teacher, you have to be 100% honest, so the teacher can then plan his next lecture accordingly. So how many of you are not 100% sure that what is direct democracy? Just by raising your hand, you can let me know, and be honest only, then I can help you, better understand the concepts in future. So see, there are not even more than 20 people who are claiming that they are not aware of this idea. So now I change the question. Please put your hands down, guys. Please put your hands down. Okay. Now I change the question. How many of you are 100% sure that you know the idea of direct democracy? Only 2, 3, 4. And how about the other 70, 80 students? You are in state of confusion. Okay, Krishan Gupta, I am giving you mic. Hanji Gupta ji, switch on your mic. अरे गुप्ता जी तो क्लास ही छोड़ गए माइक ऑन करने के चक्कर में. चलो, let's try with Piyush Kumar. Piyush, I am giving you mic. Yes, Piyush. Hi, good evening. Okay, tell me what is direct democracy. Can you explain it to me?
Sir, I think that it has its roots back from Greek Empire when people gathered at a place and elect a person from themselves only.
Okay. Now listen to me. Now listen to me. Listen to me. Okay. Listen to me. Switch off your mic. All right. So if I talk about direct democracy in today's world, how it will look like. Today in Switzerland, there are some devices used. Devices used. Now, what are these devices? Recall, referendum, recall, referendum, plebiscite, recall, referendum, plebiscite, initiative, recall, referendum, plebiscite, initiative, and there is one more, I am forgetting about it. I will tell you, though it is part of polity, but because someone asked me, sir, explain right now, so I am explaining this as well right now. Otherwise, it is part of our polity lecture. All right. Unlike India or even USA or even your Britain or UK, unlike all these countries, we call India is a democracy, America is a democracy, and UK is a democracy. Switzerland has these 3, 4, 5 devices which make it direct democracy. Now, what are these devices? When in India we elect someone as our member of parliament or member of legislative assembly, we make them MP or MLA. Now, once they have been elected, we have no power to change them. They continue for 5 years. Otherwise, if he resigns or he do something wrong in parliament, they suspend him or dismiss him, remove him from that office. That's separate. People have no power. Whereas in Switzerland, if the people have elected somebody as their member of parliament and that member of parliament is not working according to the promises made at the time of election, those people have the right to recall him. They will write an application, sign it by majority of the people of the area, give it to the election commission, and that MP has to resign because people have lost faith in him. Direct democracy, you choose, you remove. It is in your hands. Referendum. Before any important decision is to be made, the MPs have to ask the voters that shall we take this decision or not, right? People will take a vote on that decision. Before any important decision is to be made, MPs will ask the people, shall we take this decision or not? Plebiscite. If there is some important decision that is to be taken, but government is not even discussing about it, people will tell the government, you have to decide this in this way. You have to decide this in this way. People will tell, and then the government has to pass the bill. Initiative. If the government is not even bothered about thinking, people will start telling the government, think about this and do it now. It's good 3 years, you are not thinking doing this, change your policy, do it like this. People have the initiative, they can push it through. Now, these are the devices of direct democracy. All right, Piyush, now switch on your mic.
Yes, sir.
Got the idea of direct democracy in today's world?
Yes, sir.
So I hope people who were not aware of this have got some new idea today. I open the chat box, let me know, could I add some more knowledge to your knowledge base today?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Piyush, please tell me.
Sir, can you just once again explain what is plebiscite, sir?
Don't worry, as I told you, this is going to be part of your polity lectures. So it will be explained in a much detailed manner there. Shivangi, same. I said it will be explained. It will be explained in polity lectures. All right, friends. So now we are going to talk about those 3 great philosophers from France. These French philosophers, Voltaire, Montesquieu, and Rousseau. Rousseau gave us social contract theory and he added this idea of general will. Now, this general will itself is basically direct democracy. He said that there is no need to choose representatives or to elect representatives. Let people sit together. When they sit together, let them take the decision on the basis of majority. What the majority says is the general will, and let that be the rule so that everybody is happy. If there are few people who are not agreeing to what the majority of the people are saying, then we have to understand that they are on the wrong side. I give you an example. Let's take a very simple example. We are 100 students attending this session. let's say that you have given me some authority that okay, you take the final decision, like, but this authority is subject to the majority support. Now we are discussing that, is theft good or bad? If somebody is a habitual thief, he will always say that, see, it is also a work. I work overnight when people are sleeping. I just sneak into their house. I find out where they have kept their money or their jewelry, and then I steal it. That's an art, that's a talent, and I know how to do it. Then why are you saying that this is crime? No, this is no crime. People get up in the morning, they go to their office. I get up at night, I go to my office. I steal money from everyone's account or from their banks, from their houses. Now why you want to punish me for this? But majority of the people in society say, see, this is our money, we earned it. Who are you to steal it? Now when the majority says this is wrong, then 1, 2 or even 10 or even 100 people cannot be right. They have to agree that this is wrong. Now that is what general will is. I hope this is clear now. What is general will? All right. So this is how he talks about general will. But the people will say, the person in authority will agree to it and he has to sign on it. Yes, theft is a crime and you cannot do it. Fine. This is clear. So this is Rousseau. Now we talk about Mr. Montesquieu. Right. Now he talks about separation of power. Separation of power. Now what is this separation of power? Separation of power is a very important idea for modern day democracy to be successful, and he is talking about this idea in 1700s. Montesquieu is talking about the idea of separation of powers in 1700s. All right, now what he did, he said, look at this, there was the time when he is writing, there was absolute monarchy, right? Kings have absolute powers. Now what it means, king will make the new law, king will make it, king will implement it, and king will adjudicate it. Adjudicate it means, I am your king, I said okay, from tomorrow no one can wear sunglasses, I make a rule, and then I tell my police, if anyone is wearing the sunglasses, slap them on their face right there and then only. And then people come say, sir, it is so hot outside, it is like the sun is shining so bright, we cannot drive properly, we have to wear the sunglasses, please don't do this. And he said, no, I am justified, I am the judge as well, you cannot tell me this, I made the rule, it will be implemented, story ends. Now how will people get relief? Who will help the people to find relief? King is absolute, he made the law, he implemented the law, he adjudicated, he is the judge as well. So Montesquieu said, because there is no separation of powers, therefore there is absolute power with the king. Let's separate it. There should be a separate legislature like parliament which should make law. There should be a separate executive like the government which should then implement the laws, and there should be a separate judiciary like Supreme Court that should check whether the law has been made properly or not. If we separate three organs, what we end up doing? We create a system of checks and balances. Checks and balances. Now what is this idea of checks and balances? Let's take an example. Parliament is to make the law. Whether the law is right or wrong, judiciary decides. Supreme Court under Article 13 is authorized to do the judicial review of any law made by Parliament, and if they think that the law is not according to the constitution, it can violate the rights of the people, judiciary says sorry, this law cannot be implemented. So judiciary will check the working of legislature, whether the legislature is making the rules in the proper manner or not, and if they think it is not, then they will create a balance by not allowing that law to be implemented. 1, 2, if the judges are corrupt, if the judges of Supreme Court happen to be corrupt, the parliament, legislature will remove them. Legislature will start the proceedings against the judges that you are not good, your conduct is wrong, you cannot continue as a judge. So if judiciary is corrupt, legislature creates the checks and balance. If the legislature is corrupt, judiciary creates the checks and balance. This is how that idea of absolute power is defeated. This is the idea given by Montesquieu, idea of separation of powers. Is it clear everyone, this idea of separation of powers? All right. Then we come to the last of these philosophers, and the last of the French philosophers of importance here is my dear friend Voltaire. Voltaire. Now, what he says, write a statement. I agree not with what you say. I agree not with what you say. Akshita Jain, something urgent seems to be there. Yes, Ashita Jain. Yes, that's true. This is what you wanted to ask, Jan? What you have typed there? Ashwini, I will repeat the names, don't worry. Alam, I give you answer. Ashita Jan, can you please speak? I have given you the mic. बेटा टाइम नहीं वेस्ट करते ऐसे, जल्दी से बोल दो प्लीज. माइक दे दिया आपको, आपने माइक ऑन भी कर दिया हुआ, जल्दी बोल दो प्लीज.
Followed from his true sense, because as executive is part of the legislature,
Yes.
and all the ministers.
Yes,
part of
that's
the
true.
executive
That is true.
also.
It is not followed in India properly, because we do not follow the true sense of separation of power as it is followed in America. We follow the British system, Westminster model of democracy. It is parliamentary democracy.
So, sir, if in our paper we need to justify this statement, then what should we start with?
Beta, this is not part of modern India, na? This is part of polity. So this will be covered in the polity class.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. Robin, we have a much better teacher for PSIR. I am not that good a teacher for PSIR. We have a much better teacher. Whosoever teaches at Raj IAS, he or she is a very talented and a tested teacher. So it is Anuj sir who teaches political science with us. All right. So friends, I agree not with what you say, but I will die to defend your right to say. I agree not with what you say. I agree not with what you say, but I will die to defend your right to say. Means every individual has freedom of speech and expression. Nobody should restrict. He is talking about civil liberties. At a time when people were not given the rights, he is talking about civil liberties in 1700s. Amazing facts, right? So these are the people who are talking about that the king should try to change themselves. They should give people some rights. They should give people more freedom. They should restrict their own powers. They should not act like absolute monarchs. They should not be so corrupt. This is basically the idea of enlightenment. Is it clear, everyone? Are you clear with this idea of enlightenment now? So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stop here because we have done enough for the day. Now I will share the notes. Those students who have already paid and enrolled in this course, they will get it on their portal. They have a separate WhatsApp group in which we have already shared a video in which we have told them where you have to go and log in, and then you have to download your notes. Those who have still not joined the course, but after today's class they think that this is worth joining a course, this NCERT course at least, which is available for 5,900 rupees only, right? So they can text me only and only on WhatsApp, no other message, SMS or no call. This is my number 9814711661. If they want to enroll, I can give them the link to join the classes from tomorrow. Otherwise you can join these 5 lectures free, but then if you decide after these 5 classes, then the fees will be 7,500. If you join now, fees is 5,900 because we gave it 5,900. Kumar, this is not my fault. Now, if you haven't got any notes so far and you haven't asked anyone, how can it be my fault? If you are not able to understand from where you have to download, you have the numbers in the group. You could have sent one message or called somebody and you would have got it. And Naveen, what are you confused about? I'm not in a state of clarity that what are you confused about? You said, sir, I am confused. I was confused. Confused about what? And Kumar, if you understood what I told, can you please write here? Voltaire, what are you confused about? Naveen, he is talking about freedom of speech and expression. I agree not with what you say. जो तुम कहते हो मैं उससे agree नहीं करता. But मैं कौन हूँ तुम्हें मना करने से कि तुम मत बोलो? तुम्हारा right है freedom of speech, तुम अपनी बात बोलो. मुझे अच्छी नहीं लग रही तो क्या हो गया? अब clear हो गया? And Kumar, you have to just send one message to the team. They will help you out. Okay, Kumar? And Naveen, are you now clear with the idea? Obviously, yes. Na, kings were not giving people the right to freedom of speech and expression, so he is fighting against them. All right. Akshay Kolte, yes. Yes, Akshay, please tell me what you want to ask.
So I have two questions basically.
Please tell me.
First is, I have made the payment right now while watching this video lecture.
Okay.
So I wanted to know when will I get the details of the portal? Like
In morning. In morning.
In the morning. Okay. And second question is like when we are doing this video lecture, like you have taken the history in a very detailed manner, like feudalism. Each and every topic has been connected properly. But when I want to do a revision of this video lecture through NCRT, how am I supposed to like?
There is no need for you to go to NCRT. We will provide you the summary of NCRT. We have made it from different sources in a very integrated manner. So that's the beauty of this course. You are not required to read NCRTs.
So, okay, I already had the NCRT, so there's basically no need to open the NCRT. That's
No.
what you're recommending.
In case you want to open it up and let me know, could you find anything better than what we have already prepared?
I'm not sure of it because I've already done my education from CBSE.
Okay.
From the old NCRTs basically. This sort of linkage is not there in the CBSE books.
It's not even there in ICSE books. Don't worry. It took me 22 years to develop this snack.
Okay, thank you. No
All
problem.
right.
Okay, my questions are done. Thank you.
Thank you. RV. Yes, RV. My best friend. RV, please tell.
Hello.
Yes.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Can you please brief me the subjects that are covered under this course?
Indian history, world history, polity, economy, geography, environment, sciences, ethics, society, disaster management.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. So that is it, friends. So those who want to join it can send me a message on this number and they can join the batch and pay 5,900 rupees. And otherwise, if you want to take more demos, you are here with us for 5 days, but then the fees will be 7,500. And I hope you like the class. So thank you very much. Notes will be shared in the group by 8:30 or 9 p.m. today. Sneha, there is no rule like this. This is not your LKG or UKG school where you are told about this. It is about the students and the interaction which happens in the class. So we cannot keep any specific day or date for it. I hope you understand and appreciate this idea, Sneha. We are more open to extend the classes rather than cut short the syllabus. All right, so can hold on. Great. Guys, there is an idea. Last time when I held one such session, one such lecture, and I asked my students for a small favor, like if you like the way we teach here, go on the Google and write a review for Raj IAS. And one of the students, he went there and said that they forced the students to write the reviews. They forced the students to write the review. And I just requested them that if you like the lecture, give an honest review, and if you do not like it, go ahead and write something negative about us, that they do not teach good, they do not teach right. And when that student wrote that they forced, I wrote there only under that comment, I wrote that did I force you or did I request you? Then he removed his comment. I am today again requesting you, right? I am again requesting you. If you like the way we teach at Raj IAS, the way we interact, the way we explain, can I expect a small interaction, like small review on Google reviews from you guys? Is it possible? It will hardly take 2 minutes of your busy schedule if you go right now on that and write something about this session. So can I expect that out of you about 80-85 students, you can write at least 30-40 students will definitely write about it. Just go on that Google review and write something about like how you like the class, how you found the class. If it is good, say good. If it is bad, say bad. Right? Great. Thank you. Then see you guys tomorrow at 5 p.m. Take care. God bless you. And tomorrow we will start the class with a doubt session, so that whatsoever we did today, in case you have any doubt, we can have that clearing of the doubt session first, and then we continue with the next topic. All right, everyone. Now you can leave the session. Start leaving it one by one quickly so that I can leave then. Notes will be given to those who have joined the course. Usha, if you have joined the course, you will get the notes. Right? Yes, class timing will remain the same. So friends, trust me, the class is over. You can leave, and as promised, you can go and write the review if you like it. No force, no compulsion, and no bias. No.